What's happening, my Jacked family? Coach Scott here, jackedat40.com and shredded@40.com. Today I'd like to discuss the 3 best diet practices to get lean after 40. Number 1 is to have a heightened sense of awareness. I want you to try your best to avoid being persuaded by how certain diet approaches have worked for other people. It's great to experiment with certain diet approaches, but you need to block out the distractions and look within. Really pay attention to how that nutrition approach is affecting you, how your body is responding to it. Really begins with the chewing process, like really taking your time with your meal, savoring every bite, paying attention to how that meal is making you feel in the moment, and then how that meal is making you feel afterwards. Do you feel energized? Do you feel sluggish? Are you able to perform your best, feel your best? Do you have more mental clarity? All that kind of good stuff that you can experience from a meal, or does it make you feel full and bloated and sluggish? Does it interrupt your sleep? There's so many different things you can pay attention to with how your body is responding to those meals, and even the meal timing, like what works best for you. Do you find that you just like eating breakfast in the morning doesn't suit you best? You just feel an unsettled stomach. Maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you're someone who needs to jump out of bed and eat right away to feel energized to get yourself through the day. Maybe you like to have more frequent meals spread throughout the day. You're more of a grazer. Maybe you prefer bigger, larger meals. Again, it's all, you could find an article, you can find research that's gonna back up all of these approaches. All that stuff doesn't really matter all that much. What matters most is how you respond to each meal and each approach personally to yourself. So having a heightened sense of awareness is the absolute biggest key to your success in getting lean after 40. Not only getting lean after 40, but staying lean after 40, really making this a lifestyle approach for you. Number 2 is to track your food intake for 2 to 4 weeks. It truly is an eye-opening experience. It's going to provide some valuable insights into your nutrition habits. It's going to provide you insights into your portion control, how to manage that better. I hear countless times throughout the week from men over 40 who tell me that they eat healthy, but they can't seem to lose weight. Now, eating healthy, that's a huge part of the battle. I'd say you're way ahead of the curve if that's where you're beginning. You're eating healthy, you're doing right, you're making some great nutrition choices, eating nutrient-rich foods that make you feel your best, but you can't lose weight. Chances are your portion control is not in alignment with your goals. You're likely consuming a little bit more than you realize that you may think you're consuming. So tracking your food intake, like taking that time to measure out your foods, you really realize, holy smokes, like I see the common meme out there on social media is like what a tablespoon of peanut butter actually looks like. Now, peanut butter may not be the best nutrition source, but maybe a handful of almonds or pistachios. Like, we are not very good at judging our portion size. Like, when you realize, like, holy smokes, this small little portion of nuts or seeds or nut butters is like 300 calories when you're expecting it to be 100 calories, that's a big difference. You may be consuming a whole natural food, maybe it's an avocado. A lot of times it comes with the healthy fats are a little bit higher in calories. Sometimes even like the healthy carb sources, like even for me, a bowl of oats, like 1 cup of oats. In a bowl, it doesn't look that big. You think, oh, I'm eating something healthy for myself, but those calories can add up very quickly as well. So again, it's an eye-opening experience. I know it can be tedious in the beginning, but provides, like I said, very valuable insights. And from there, you can take a look at even your micronutrient breakdown. You may think you're eating healthy, but are you getting enough of the micronutrients in your diet to really, for your body to function at its best? What is your natural macro breakdown? Like for myself personally, when I'm tracking my nutrition intake, I notice that I naturally fall into like, probably my fats are likely between, I'd say 23 to 27% of my diet. My protein is oftentimes 25-ish to 30% of my diet, and then my carbs is the rest, close to that 45% of my diet there. So it really helps kind of see where I'm naturally falling at, but you can see, like, are you getting an adequate amount of each macronutrient in your diet? And if you want a general guideline there, I'd say for most of us men over 40, we're looking at protein. Consuming 1 gram to 1.5 grams per pound body weight is a great place to start. So if you're a little bit lower than that, I'd recommend trying to bump it up. Not likely that many of you are above 1.5 grams per pound body weight. Not that that's a bad thing. That may suit you best, but I find that's a good range to start with. If you're in that range, you're doing well. When it comes to fats, As long as you're between 20% and 30% fat, I think that is a great place. I naturally kind of fall around that 23 to 25%, sometimes upwards of 30. So again, it all comes down to that heightened sense of awareness. How does your body respond best to consuming fats? Do you feel better when your fats are a little higher, up around 30% fat? Again, fats can have a very positive impact on our hormone health. So you want to pay attention to that. It's some men over 40 like to keep their fats lower, closer to that 20% body fat, because less fat in your diet, less likely you are to store body fat. So keep it a little bit lower, and maybe they just feel better. They feel more satiated when they get more carbs in their diet, more proteins in their diet than fats. Again, heightened sense awareness is where it's at. So 20 to 30% of fats is a good place to, as long as you fall in that range. You don't need to get specific with grams, specific with a percentage. When it comes to protein, 1 to 1.5 grams per pound body weight. And then the rest comes from carbs. And once again, not only are we looking at the percentage of carbs that you're consuming for your diet, maybe it's 40%, maybe it's 50% that you feel best, but it's also the carb sources that make you feel your best. So when you're tracking your nutrition intake, you can kind of see, man, and documenting how you're feeling, you're like, man, I felt a little sluggish today. My macros were the same as they typically are, but maybe you consumed a little bit more refined carbohydrates that day, and that affected you in a negative way. Maybe it spiked your energy and then dropped it down low. So paying attention to how certain foods are affecting you as well. So tracking not just the food intake, but how you're feeling. And I highly recommend that you track your weight at the same time. A practice of daily weigh-ins first thing in the morning as you relieve yourself, like after you relieve yourself, step on that scale, see where you're at, and watch the trending weight. Again, it's never linear. There's going to be some ups and downs along the way, but you can match what you're consuming with how your body is responding, and even scale weight. So if you're tracking your food intake and your scale weight goes up a little bit, you can like, that's weird. Like my calories are the same, but I consumed, this meal was maybe had a little bit more salt in it. Maybe the timing of your meal, you ate that meal a little bit later on in the day. Maybe certain foods just stay in your system a little bit longer, and it takes longer for you to empty out. So having that heightened sense of awareness while tracking is absolutely key to your success in getting lean and staying lean after 40. And then number 3 is to eliminate guilt from this entire process. Guilt held me back and really kept me in that yo-yo dieting loop for years. I'd be really good for a few days, maybe 3 days later, grab a cookie or two. As soon as I have those cookies, I'm like, I blew my diet, feel guilty in that moment, go, fuck it, might as well eat the whole box and I'll start again tomorrow. And then again, like while you're eating, you're just like, oh my God, why am I doing this? I can't believe, here I go again, and just beating yourself over it. That should not happen with your diet at all. This is a learning experience, and we are learning and growing as we are going through this journey here. No foods should ever be off limit to you. You can work all of your favorite foods into your diet. And even if you happen to have one day where you go a little bit above the calorie target that you have set for yourself, you can always eat just a little bit less the next day. So in that moment, when you're eating a cookie or two, you don't have to feel guilty about eating that and think that you blew your diet, because in that moment, you don't want to make a bad decision because you feel guilty or anything. It's usually that guilt that sparks even worse nutrition habits afterwards. So you want to realize that no foods are off limit. No foods are forbidden. You can work them into your nutrition intake for the day, for the week. Total calories for the week is really what matters most. So you can have a day that's a little bit higher, and you can make up for it either the next day or throughout the rest of the week by just eating a little bit less. But I do want you to have that heightened sense of awareness when it comes to consuming those foods, consuming those cookies. Yeah, you can work your favorite treats into your diet, but how do those foods make you feel? Do they serve you well in that moment? And there are going to be times where it is going to serve you well. It's Thanksgiving here in Canada right now. I'm definitely going to be enjoying some treats. I'm going to enjoy some craft beers, and I just love the overall experience together, sharing those moments with others. But just because I'm enjoying those foods doesn't mean I need to consume them in excess. I had 2 craft beers yesterday. In the past, I probably would have just kept drinking, pounding it, but I'm like, 2 is good enough for me, and that was spread over several hours. I had one bowl of trifle after the meal. I had one serving of the dinner time. So I enjoyed all of the foods. I enjoyed the stuffing, the potatoes, the gravy, the corn, which I hardly have at all. I don't really ever have that in my house, but mainly because it's just not a lot of taste to corn unless you have it on the cob with butter and salt and pepper and all that stuff. But I enjoyed the trifle. I enjoyed all that stuff, but I enjoyed it to the point of satisfaction. I didn't stuff myself silly. And the great thing is I'm having another Thanksgiving feast today. So I know that's the other thing, and that's the beauty of having this approach, this flexible dieting approach, where like, you know, I can have a treat tomorrow if I want to. And in this moment, you're like, I don't need to pig out on this because I can have it the next day. I can have a treat the next day. But again, you don't want, just because you can follow a flexible dieting approach doesn't mean that you should consume crap. Like try to fit in highly processed foods each and every day. Really want you to have that heightened sense of awareness to how those foods are making you feel, and are you better off having more nutrient-rich foods to fit your calories for that day, because it's going to be higher in food volume, make you feel more satiated, but it's going to have the micronutrients in there that are going to allow you to feel your best, perform your best, allow your body to function at its best, live your life to the fullest. So being picky and choosy, like living my life to the fullest, celebrating with my family this Thanksgiving weekend, enjoying all of the trimmings and all that stuff, that's what life is all about. I'm not going to sit there and just have salad, like just veggies and lean proteins there. I'm going to enjoy the experience to the fullest, but doing so responsibly, being adult about it, and not pigging out and having to undo my button I remember doing that in my younger days for sure, having to undo that button or wear stretchy pants because I know I was going to eat in excess, but I just know that I don't feel my best when I'm doing that. I'll sleep like crap later on tonight. I'll likely have acid reflux at night if I pig out and stuff myself still. I'm just gonna feel sluggish and uncomfortable. So to me, it's pointless to do that. So once again, it all ties in. Heightened sense of awareness with all of this. When you're tracking and how you are feeling when you're consuming those treats. Do you feel guilty when you're consuming those treats? If so, why do you feel that way? Especially when you're hitting your calorie target for the day. You're not eating it in excess. You shouldn't feel guilty about any foods that you are consuming. You don't want to be beating yourself up through this process, but you do want to continue to try to improve upon your nutrition. As I've shared in many videos, I used to be like 80% nutrient-rich, whole natural foods. 20% of my diet come from highly processed treats, if you want to call it that, cheat meals, all that stuff. And now I'm more like 95% whole natural nutrient-rich foods, just because I feel my best. I feel more satiated. I feel more satisfied. I feel more energetic. I'm just a better performing machine when I'm consuming whole natural nutrient-rich foods. But when I do have my treats, I certainly don't feel guilty about it. I certainly don't beat myself up over it, because in the moment, a lot of times those treats serve me well. They satisfy my taste buds. They give me those feel-good endorphins. And it's a part of life, is enjoying all of those things. But having control over those foods and not allowing those foods to have control over you. That is the message for the day. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button. I'd really, really appreciate it. If you know a fellow bro who'd benefit from watching today's video, do me a favor and share it with them. More than anything, I would love to hear from you down in the comment section below. So share your thoughts, share your insights, share your feedback and experiences with us. Really love to hear from you. And before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Jacked After 40. Have yourself an amazing day. Catch you in the next video.